Welcome, everybody, to Wager Talk Today. I am Lawrence Presman, the man with the red shirt. Clashing with my orange is Andy Lang, and you're watching the best daily all sports betting show on the planet. And if you guys haven't watched the show, man, stay with us all the way. This show is excellent. It's informative. It's entertaining. You'll laugh. And I'm even going to give you an incredible television suggestion. Andy, on this show today, we got Jeff Michaels. He's going to look at the LA Angels win total. He's also going to look at Colorado State in football. Tokyo Brandon is coming on. He's going to take apart the Brewers game tomorrow, and same with the Tampa Bay Rays. And he's also going to discuss the advantages of taking a -1 in baseball instead of a -1.5. And Andrew McInnis begged me to be on the show today, pleaded. Okay, well, it was like one sentence in Slack, but
I saw the Slack message. Beg. He couldn't help but talk about the Stampeders and Rough Riders in the CFL. Woohoo! Oh man!
Yeah, well, everybody. Hey, dude, let me tell you something. The Stampeders is one of the best names in all of sports. It is legitimate to the city, unlike the Raptors that haven't roamed around Toronto in at least 30 years. It's a kick-ass name.
It's a great record. It really is.
Yeah.
My favorite that you've always brought up is how you remember the days when all those Golden Knights were gallivanting around Las Vegas.
Yes.
Completely unnecessary. Yes, I agree. Stampeders, it's anything you want in a name. It's perfect.
It's close to an onomatopoeia, right?
Agreed. It's perfect. It's perfect. It's a great name.
Yeah, I vote that the Calgary Stampeders have the best name in all of sports. Buccaneers and Vikings. Andrew's going to talk about that as well. Brother, I missed you. How are you, man?
I'm doing great. It was nice to have a few days off. No bets the last couple days outside of some Wimbledon plays. But Scottish Open for golf started, which means it started at 3 a.m. my time, getting us ready for the Open Championship next week, which starts at 3 a.m. UFC is this weekend, so baseball starts up. Obviously, everybody knows that. So really, I have this weekend marked as it's time. Now it's time to get it back into baseball, all the other sports, and before you know it, college football and NFL will be here. So I think the lull before the storm has just passed us, and we are here into the storm. We are going to be busy now from here until the end of the year, through bowl season, through NFL season. So can't wait.
So I'm going hydrofoiling this weekend up at the cottage. Guess it's not time.
I for some of us, it's time. We're used to your vacations, though. It's good. But Prez, I have a surprise for you.
What?
I have found a world record that has not been broken. I don't believe it's been attempted. I have found the food, and I know the application process to get it started with the Guinness World Records. So I will be announcing that later on in the show as a little tease there. But I think it's a record that you and I can break.
I'm excited, dude. Okay, well, before we bring Jeff Michaels in, I have never started a show with a television recommendation before. I do suggest you don't start the show at 11 at night like I did last night. I went to bed at 3:10 in the morning. I could not turn it off. And a bunch of you guys have probably watched it already. It's on Paramount Plus. It's called The Offer. Andy, are you familiar with it?
I am not.
It is a 10-episode story starring Miles Teller and Giovanni Ribisi and a bunch of other. Dan Fogler is incredible. It's a monster cast. It is the story of the making of the movie The Godfather.
Oh, yes. This has been out for a little bit. Yes, I know. Yes. I know this one. Rave reviews.
Unbelievable.
I've been watching Why Women Kill on Paramount Plus. If you're on Paramount Plus, Why Women Kill. Absolutely fantastic. They, for lack of a better phrase, they kill it.
Okay, well, the answer to why women kill is because they can. Jeff Michaels joining us, everybody. Jeff, anything so far to add to the show that we've spoken nothing? We've literally 7 minutes of nothing.
Yeah, Paramount Plus, there's a million different things you can find out there. That's one of the ones we use up here too, but I'm gonna have to get a jump on both of those. I haven't
I'm gonna
actually
watch.
heard of Offer Up. I sound behind.
Yeah, no, it's mind blowing. It's the story of how the movie The Godfather got made, and it is an unbelievable story. I think after that, I'm going to do Tulsa King with Stallone, but who knows? Okay, brother, let's get straight into it. Some actionable information. The LA Angels with an injured Mike Trout. Jewish people would say Manishtana, meaning why is today different from any other day? Plus, I don't even know if Otani's going to be around by the end of this season. I'm curious where you're going. What do you want to talk about with this lowly, pathetic LA Angels team that haven't been able to get out of their way for about, decades?
Yeah, you said it, Prez. I'm looking under this win total here. They're sitting at 80.5, and you're looking at like a minus 115 bet. You're not laying much juice here. And you mentioned two of the big things here. I mean, injuries, not only Mike Trout, but why is today any different? Because they've seen Gio Urshela, they've seen Brandon Drury, Anthony Rendon, Zach Neto, Max Stacy, Taylor Ward. I mean, the list goes on and on of these injuries. And I really think this trade deadline coming up is going to be a distraction for this team. I don't honestly think that Otani leaves before this deadline. I don't think he'll be playing in an Angels uniform next year, to be honest. But it really does become a distraction around this trade deadline because the majority of the time, you're either a buyer or a seller. There's not a whole lot of teams coming around the trade deadline that really stay quiet here. And if you're not buying, you're selling. And I don't see LA being a buy-in team here. I actually talked about the other couple teams, I believe, on the show prior to the MLB season and how competitive I thought this West was going to be. But it really does hurt LA even more here. Not only is there three teams that are competing, potentially four teams if you still count the Angels that are competing for the division here, but it puts Houston in an entirely different spot than where they've been in the last couple of years. Houston has almost been able to take a load off, put their feet up at the end of the season and coast into the playoffs. And this year now they're going to be fighting, really to stay in the wild card hunt and potentially be looking to still win the division. But they're 2 games, I believe, at this moment behind Texas. So LA's got a lot to fight for, or a lot to fight against to get up this, hill. And they're one of only 2 teams that have over 70% of their games remaining against teams with at least a 500 record. They got 22 games against first place teams that are currently in first place. And they only play 6 games against the teams that are currently in last place in baseball amongst the divisions. So they have one of the hardest schedules, strength of schedules based off a win percentage. And I really don't see this trade deadline being anything other than a distraction here. So I do think they potentially turn into sellers here. And I think that, it may be too little too late. And I think we're thinking about next year for this LA team and where Otani may end up with all the given injuries. It's totally changed the mindset, I think, of this Angels team moving forward this year.
Jeff, I think you did a great job explaining this one and the schedule in particular. You mentioned how hard their schedule is. 3 of their easiest games, they play Oakland 3 times. That's their last 3 games of the season. The start is brutal. When they come back. Astros, Yankees, Pirates, they do get the Tigers, Blue Jays, Braves, Mariners, Giants, Astros, the Texas Rangers, Tampa Rays, Cincinnati. It's brutal. I love the way that you broke this down. And when I looked at the schedule, I was like, man, I mean, it could spiral out of control real quick. It's not like they've got a bunch of bad teams to start off with. It's like they got to come out of the gate and face a gauntlet of some really good teams. So I enjoyed this play. I had not seen it at all. I think this is a great one, and I may be tailing you on this one.
I appreciate it. You know, last night, 22 games against first place team, only 7 of those against the Ohio teams, which I don't really even consider first place teams at this point.
Yeah,
So
Jeff, you mentioned they're going to have to wait till next year. Yeah, no offense to any Angels fans. Next year is not going to be any better. Colorado State. Their over and under a win record on the year is 4.5. Look, that's an important number. That's literally whether they go 500 or not. Where are we going with this one, man? I haven't even looked at this conference yet.
yeah, you know, me and my dad, I think I saw it right below right now. My dad and I did a lot of work on a college football guide. And I think a lot of the times these smaller conferences, because I don't think you're the only one that hasn't looked at them. And I think that there's a lot of times that there's value here early. So I like this Colorado State team to go over this 4.5 win total here, sitting at minus 130. There's already been a little bit of movement here, but this is actually a play I released in that guide. There's 2 other plays in that guide, and there's information on every team in there. But I did want to look at this Colorado State team because 3 of the biggest things that I looked at moving forward this year for these win totals: 1, strength of schedule; 2, transfers; and 3 are the recruits. Because I do think transfers have, a more immediate impact at this point. And strength of schedule is huge, especially looking at a team from like the Mountain West, for instance. And returning starters is something that a lot of people talk about. And I think that varies so dramatically. So one thing that I did look at, actually out of Phil Steele's College Football Magazine, he does a lot of returning rankings based off of all conference and all American teams. And I think that puts it into perspective well, because, Colorado State is equally as able to get an all Mountain West player as Ohio State is to get an all Big Ten player. It's all about that teams that you're playing against. And Colorado State actually sits at the top of the Mountain West in those rankings. They brought in a pretty impressive recruiting class in comparison to the rest of their conference. And they actually play one of the easiest schedules in their conference as well. They got 7 transfers that they brought in that could be competing for a starting spot. All 7 of them were coming from a team that's now a Power 5 team. One of them's coming from BYU, who was independent last year, but I'll call them a Power 5 team playing in the Big 12 this year. So all 7 transfers that could be starting are coming from Power 5 schools. So they bring in some legitimate talent. They got an easy schedule to play, and you're really not asking them to improve all of that much off of last year. And I don't see the other teams getting that much better in this conference. So only asking Colorado State to improve to 5 wins on the season, I think is 100% within reach. So I like the over here in looking at the Mountain West early.
Andy?
Yeah, I don't have anything on this. I don't handicap college football. I love a good analysis. I love when somebody tells it to me confidently and has a lot of information to back it up. That's what impresses me the most about this one. I have no follow-up because I just don't follow college football that much. Hole in my game, I know, but it's just not for me.
Hey, it's not a hole in your game. You're not forced to follow anything. You do what you do best. Mark Brock, one of our viewers, thinks that's a very risky play there, Jeff. Big Lucci likes it, but he likes it at over 3.5.
That's Colorado. That's Colorado, not Colorado State.
That's Colorado. Right.
Different team.
I love Colorado, just for the record. I think that is the finest state in your country, gentlemen. Jeff, what do you got to promote? And if you could quickly give us, Andy, we'll address that in What Did Bettors Learn if you want to poke at my love for Colorado.
I'm immediately changing What Did Bettors Learn. The Colorado is not the most interesting state in the United States.
I didn't say interesting.
Go ahead,
Jeff, what do you got to promote? Talk about the college football guide.
Yeah, looking forward to football coming up, guys. I got win totals, both NFL and college football, up for sale on my site. And a number one MLB money line last 30 days. So looking forward to the second half of baseball too, coming in after the All-Star break. We should have some stuff posted tonight for that second half starting tomorrow. So looking forward to it. Go check it out tonight.
Brilliant. Jeff Michaels, everybody. Andy Lang, before we get into what did bettors learn, you want to address my love for the state of Colorado?
Yeah, I have friends that live in Colorado. We have people that work with WagerTalk who live in Colorado. I can't put it very high. It's only got 5.8 million people in it. It's got one massive city, Denver, which is very expensive to live in. I just don't think there's a lot of difference across the state of Colorado. Very picturesque, very beautiful. It's got some upside, but I don't even have it in the top 10 of states that I'm interested in.
What's your top one?
Top one? I would say California. You can find anything you want. Anything you want. Like, you want to live north? Okay, you get the cooler weather. You want to live south and get the warmest weather you can. Big city, you got it. Wine country, you got it. Small city, you got it. Fifth biggest economy in the world. Not just fifth biggest here in the U.S., but it's
cities,
got everything. Tent cities. If you like camping in the tent cities, you got it. If you want to be in
cars,
if you want to be in Mission Impossible 17, you can do that.
You want to shoplift, you can shoplift. Everything is allowed in California.
Freedom. God bless the U.S. of A. That's what I love in a state.
Okay. Well, listen, I got no problem with California. I consider it a country, not a state.
It is closer to a country than it is a state. You're very right about that. Yes.
Yeah. So Aspen is in Colorado. Vail is in Colorado. Crested Butte is in Colorado.
Oh, those booming metropolises. Oh my gosh. Really big differences to the economy. Oh my.
Who gives a shit about a booming metropolis? If I wanted a booming metropolis, I'll go look at rats in New York City.
People that want to live in nice weather the whole year do. I'm not even from California. I can't believe I'm the one defending California. I'm from Indiana. What?
Yeah, booming metropolis you got going there, dude. Anyway,
I like to think I add to the booming metropolis of Indianapolis, Indiana.
Andy.
Yes.
I'm a skier, and I have a thing for mountains. Colorado and Utah are my two favorite states in America. What did we learn in the wonderful world of sports betting?
Well, Prez, I actually seriously want to get your opinion on this because I want to take a page out of something that reflects on sports and life. And it is just that bad leaders, man, they're always going to let you down. I have to come on and talk about the golf, PGA, and live deal. And they're testifying in front of the Senate. And here are some of the things that we learned. The deal has a clause that says nobody involved with golf can ever say anything bad about Saudi Arabia. The Saudis want to sponsor events. Yes, this came out in the Senate hearings. I'm going to go through the list here. The Saudis want to sponsor events which could push out companies that currently sponsor events. So instead of having like the Genesis Scottish Open and the Farmers Insurance and the John Deere, they could just all be called the Saudi Arabian Open. That's in there. The PGA messed up the announcement. They used the word merger. It was very specific that they weren't supposed to use the word merger. They were just supposed to say, we've reached a deal to cancel our litigation. And instead they used the word merger, which was the one word they shouldn't have used. The guy in charge of the Saudi money, he wanted to include the deal that he gets to be a member of Augusta Country Club. They wanted Rory McIlroy and Tiger Woods to each have their own live golf team to play 10 events a year. Prez, Tiger can't play one tournament of golf, let alone 10 a year. And Rory McIlroy has said, I would retire before I would play one hole of live golf. We also learned they actually don't even have a deal in place. Nobody knows what's going on. The players don't know what's going on. And then after the PGA and live deal, Jay Monahan takes a leave of absence, saying he has health issues, like 2 days after. Prez, I have been around for a while. In life, in business, and in sports, you bet on and you surround yourself with the best leaders. You fade the teams, franchises, and players with no leadership or direction. Great leaders, they're not going to be right all the time. But in the biggest spots and the most important moments, you want to make sure you have leaders around you and you want to be betting on those particular franchises and teams. Golf has bad leaders. This is a lesson I've learned in sports and in life. And I know you have too. If you would like to add anything about great leaders and bad leaders, every morning I wake up, I check the Slack channel. There's a message from Johnny or Rick. Why? Because they're great leaders. It's why we're brought here. So I just had to touch on great leaders in golf, showing once again they have atrocious leaders.
Well, so listen, I love the take. It's super interesting what is going on. But for the record, Greg Norman might be one of the best leaders in history of the world. And he's a golfer, and he's in golf. I mean, think about what Greg Norman was able to accomplish. He destroyed the PGA. He was able to snag all their players. And now he is literally reverse merged and ends up his group owning golf all over the entire world in like an 18-month period. Greg freaking Norman, everybody.
He's a despicable person, but the man showed he can lead. He led way better than the PGA did. Absolutely. 100%.
Jay Monahan is definitely going to be looking for a job soon. Tokyo Brandon joining us. Tokyo, anything to add so far to the show?
California is not the best state in the U.S. Well, neither is Colorado, but as soon as you said Vail and all that stuff, I knew you were talking about skiing. So yeah, Colorado definitely is the best state if you're talking about skiing. But Arizona is probably the best state in the United States. So
like just because 40 degrees.
Yeah, Arizona.
Yeah, if you Vivian like being able to cook steaks on the sidewalk, absolutely.
Yeah, Vivian just got back from Arizona. Tokyo. Vivian just got back from Arizona 2 days ago. Nobody was in Arizona when she was there. She was texting me. She's like, I'm in a shopping center. There's not one single person. Arizona. Dude, Arizona does not have mountains. Arizona does not have beaches. Arizona doesn't
have mountains?
If it doesn't have snow on the top of the mountain, it's not a mountain. That's the definition of a mountain.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I've never been to Arizona. I won't make I have no idea, but I will tell you this. It's way too hot.
It is hot. We used to, when I was growing up, we used to cook eggs off the sidewalk just for fun. And we used to flip over rocks to find scorpions. That was kind of our fun when I was a kid. So
how fun. What a blast.
Hey.
Yeah, Tokyo Brandon with a bad childhood.
Anyone from Arizona will vouch for that.
Okay, dude, let's get into it. We got a full slate of baseball games going tomorrow. Love that we have one more day without betting. Milwaukee Brewers, Corbin Burns on the mound. Not the Corbin Burns we've come to love over the last few years. They're playing Cincinnati. Graham Ashcroft, 9.5 on tap. Anytime there's a 9.5, it's an immediate over for me. I want to know where you're going in this game.
Yeah, not so sure about the over-under, but Ashcraft started the season really hot, and he's fallen off a cliff. Corbin Burns, not that bad, actually. He's got a 1.14 whip on the season, and he's 7-5, so he's not terrible. But, a lot of pitchers are not what they were in years past, like Alcantara for the Marlins as well. He's kind of fallen off a bit of a cliff as well. But the Milwaukee Brewers don't get a lot of credit. And, in 7 games against the Reds, they've won 5 of them. They have just as many home runs as the Reds, although their hitting is a little bit lacking, but they're a much better pitching team. And Ashcraft has a 1.59 whip right now. Against the Brewers in his career, he has an OPS against of 1.042, which is really bad. Corbin Burns, on the other hand, against Reds batters in his career has an OPS against of 438. So he's really taking care of Reds batters. And if you look at I have my own rankings that I do. That I have a formula. I do my own rankings. In the last 10 days, I have Milwaukee with the number 6 lineup in MLB. So they're
What?
crushing the ball pretty good.
How is that
Yeah,
possible?
yeah.
What?
They're take a look. Take a look. Take a look. They've been crushing it
Well,
lately,
you
and
don't send me your numbers.
and their bullpen's ranked number 4 in the last 10 days as well. So the Milwaukee Brewers are a really good team in the last 10 days. Over the season, their
Oh, so
pitching's good.
hold
They're
on.
hitting
So you're only saying the last 10 days because
yes.
on the season, the
Yeah.
only statistic that matters from an offensive perspective, there's only one. It makes no difference how many home runs you hit.
Tell me
It
what
makes
that
no
is.
difference what your batting average is. The only
I'd
thing that
love to hear
matters
it.
is how many people cross the plate. Milwaukee's in the bottom 10. The
Sure.
bottom 10. Literally the
Actually,
bottom 10.
as far as runs scored, yes, they have 384.
There's
But,
nothing else.
Cincinnati has 454. Not a big difference, to be honest. I mean, in the last 10 days, Milwaukee's hitting better than the Reds, and their bullpen is ranked 8 spots above the Reds. So I have the Brewers, and minus 115 is a good price. Actually, Cincinnati might even be favored in this when all the numbers come out. Right now, there's only a couple books that have numbers out, and I'm seeing it as pretty much a push 'em. Uh, Pretty much a even money either way. So I like the Brewers in this one.
Brandon, does it bother you that every
Yep.
time I bet on the Brewers, I lose? No, I'm just.
Why would it bother
kidding.
Brandon? I don't think
No,
he
I-
gives a shit.
I'm just making the case that the Brewers are my kryptonite every time I bet on
Yeah.
them. So I will spare you, and I will not
Yeah.
bet on the Brewers. Therefore, no. My question was basically, Prez,
Yeah.
is just
No,
this
totally.
this offense is just kind of stagnant. The Reds,
Garbage.
kind of electric team. De La Cruz. And I guess the other thing that I wanted to ask you about is betting coming out of the All-Star break. You're firing right away. Do you
Yep.
worry too much about the break? Teams come back rusty. I guess it fits both teams, but I guess you're not concerned with that at
Yeah.
all, right?
I think the break affects both teams evenly, unless you're a team that had a lot of all-stars. Even the players who participated in the All-Star game, I don't really think it's kind of like, does rain affect a football game? And it affects both teams the same. I mean, you can probably dig for some statistics. This team performs better off a break and whatnot. I don't dig quite that deep, but in football maybe you do. But the weather affects both teams. The break affects both teams. So I'm really not that. I don't think it'll really have much impact. And it might affect my last 10 days statistics a little bit because baseball teams really are creatures of habit and creatures of recent form, which is why I keep track of last 10 days. So yeah, my last 10 days stats might not be quite as effective as they normally are during the marathon of baseball. But yeah, I don't think I think the break affects all teams pretty much the same. And let's face it, neither one of these teams had too many guys participating in the All-Star festivities.
Yeah. Tokyo Brandon, everyone. An ex-scout for Major
Yes.
League Baseball.
Yes, sir.
Brandon, you want to talk
Yeah.
Kansas City, Tampa Bay? We don't have a pitcher yet for Tampa Bay. However, they find themselves minus 285. That would be, I mean, why don't you just pin Casey down and stab him with 100 knives? When you are
Casey?
plus 240 at home, facing a team that hasn't even picked a pitcher yet, you freaking suck.
Yeah.
How do we bet this game?
Looks like it's going to be Tyler Glasnow starting for the Rays, as far as my information is concerned. And it doesn't really matter who the Rays pick because they're one of those teams. Yeah, they're one of those teams who their pitching's pretty good all around. They don't really have any horrible pitchers except Beeks. I think Beeks is pretty bad. He's lost a couple bets for me. And like Andy said, there are some teams that are kryptonite, and I have a couple of kryptonite teams too. Whenever I bet the Diamondbacks, they kill me for some reason, even though I'm from Arizona. So But yeah, it looks like it's going to be Glasnow, and pretty much anyone's going to be better than Alec Marsh, because Alec Marsh, although the sample size is small, he's only pitched 9 innings in his major league career, but in both of those against the Twins and the Dodgers, he's given up 3 home runs. He's got a WHIP of 1.78 and an ERA of 7. So I think pretty much anyone they pitch is going to be better than Alec Marsh. And if you look at the stats, actually, the Rays have actually been hitting horrible in the last 10 days. But hopefully the break will wake them up. I actually have both of these teams even at hitting, which when you're even with the Royals, you know you're doing something wrong and you know you suck. I have both of these teams even at ranked 28 out of 30 teams. But the difference is the Rays have the better bullpen. Their bullpen's ranked 9, where I have the Royals ranked 28 in bullpen as well. If they start Glasnow, which it looks like they are, he pretty much gives you 4 or 5 innings of 2 earned runs every outing, which is probably a lot less than what Alec Marsh is going to give you. So I like the Rays -1.5 here. And I'm going to talk about a -1 bet in just a moment. But yeah, I do like the Rays minus the 1.5 here on the road.
Well, Brandon, yeah, you don't have to worry about the Royals being tired coming out of the All-Star break with all of those All-Stars and all of those home run derby hitters that they had. Talk about the -1 and -1.5. You're the only one I've seen utilize that -1 handicap.
Yeah, -1. I look at a -1 as kind of a insurance against the run line, because there's nothing that I hate more than picking the right team and losing the bet because they only won by 1 run. I hate that. I really hate that. And -1 is a good way to avoid that. So a -1, if anyone bets soccer or any sport like that, you know that a -1 means if your team wins by 1, it's a push. You get your money back, which is a good way to bet because you can get some pretty good odds on a -1. I mean, the Rays today are -200 something, so you probably won't get great value on a -1 even in a game like that. However, like for example, the Brewers are going to be a -115 when the numbers come out. If you take the Brewers -1, you can actually get probably +120 on the Brewers. And if they win by 1, you get your money back. So I look at it as an insurance bet. I love the bet in Asian baseball. I do Japanese and Korean baseball as well. Most of the heavy favorites in those leagues are around 170 or 180. So when you get something like that and you don't want to lay the juice, you do a -1. You can bring it down to 140 and get heavy favorite at -140. So a -1 is definitely a bet I like to utilize. I look at it as insurance on the run line. If you follow me, there's one book that really does great Asian lines. It's they're green and black. Probably most Americans use this book. It starts with a D. They have really good Asian line numbers. And they have -1 for all the Korean and all the Japanese games. So I do like -1, especially in Asian. So
Tokyo, you can mention DraftKings' name. Like, it's not a big deal here. I mean, Jesus, we had Jeff Michaels show up on the show at the top of the hour. Him and his dad literally wrote a 140-page college football guide, and yet he discussed Phil Steele's. So,
I see. Okay,
you might as well.
I thought it was taboo to mention a book because someone will say I'm promoting it or something. Okay, cool.
Dude, we're way up against
Asian baseball lines. Okay, DraftKings has the best Asian baseball lines, by the way. Okay, I'm out. Every day, $9 Asian baseball plays. Every day, $9 Asian baseball plays. As soon as I have a play out, it's always $9 in Asian baseball. I'll have some MLB out pretty soon as well when the lines come out. So look at my page at WagerTalk.com, Tokyo Brandon. I was the #1 capper in 2021 and 2022. And hopefully I can make a comeback here and be #1 in 2023. We'll see about that. $9 plays every day for Asian baseball. That's my promotion.
There you go, guys. Tokyo Brandon, everyone. And if you're not betting his Asian baseball, I don't know why you're even listening to this show. That's how good he is. Honest to God, one of the best handicappers I've ever seen inside of the sports that he does. Andy, we are up against it. We're going to skip the BS segment. No problemo. Steve Merrill will be hosting tomorrow with you, Andy. And you guys can do the BS segment there, but not the question we were going to do. We're going to leave that question from me. So before we bring on Andrew McInnis, your Guinness Book of World Record thoughts. Let's hear them.
So I looked up quite a few food records. Believe it or not, there's quite a few out there. There is a quinoa world record. Somebody ate 8 tomatoes in like 30 seconds. So I was really struggling with some of these. But here's what I found. I cannot find any world record involving celery with cream cheese on it.
Oh,
So
I like both.
So, me too. I have both in my fridge. I can practice this. And I think this is something that we can go after. So all you have to do is reach out to Guinness. They will set something up with you. They will actually give you a goal that you have to hit. So we can't just like eat 2 and be like, that's it. So they will tell you you need to accomplish like this many. So if we reach out to them,
do me and you go against each other, and then whoever does the most gets the record?
No, it's a tag team. I think we work it together. I mean, if we want to go head to head, we could, but I would feel terrible with you coming in second place. I would feel awful for you,
Andy. Second place might not be first, but it's a hell of a lot better than 8 billion. So I'll take second at everything. Thank you. I'm happy to be the second best at every single thing in the world. Anyway, do it, man. Let's go. I can eat cream cheese on celery, no problem. We should find out how much peanut butter and chocolate ice cream, what the record is for that, because that is my specialty.
Okay.
No, that's
all right.
My specialty is ice cream, bro. Andrew McInnis joining us. Hey, dude. Strand 64, section 12. What's going on?
What?
It's you'll understand it later, Andrew. We are running against time, and I want to hear your thoughts.
Hair right now? That's all I can think about.
No, it's not.
I was just pointing out one strand in quadrant B, section 12. Strand C is out of place.
I see.
That's all.
I see.
That's all. Andy, you want to take the segment over? Go ahead, bro. I'll sit back and listen.
Stampeders and Rough Riders, 10 seconds on how cool of a nickname Stampeders is. It's an awesome name. And then tell us what you like about this play. I did not have this game circled as one to talk about in CFL. I haven't even researched it that much, so I'm excited to hear your thoughts. Stampeders and Rough Riders, what do you got?
Yeah, well, Andy, look, I mean, when you're at this point in any league, especially a football league, of course, you're kind of at that time where you can look at a team's record. If it's not that great, you ask yourself 2 questions. Do they deserve this record, and do we keep betting against them? Or have they had a tough record so far, and is it time to start betting on them when the odds makers have overreacted? Now, I'm going to look at this Calgary team, and I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt that they're still a bet-on team for me. Looking at their schedule to start the season off, they had a game against the BC Lions, who I have pegged to be the best team in the league this year. And you take a look at the next game. Easy layup win against the Red Blacks. Everyone should beat them. Then they had a double overtime loss in a game that they blew the lead against the Rough Riders, who they're playing this weekend. And then, of course, they just lost to the Blue Bombers. They've played a very tough schedule. I'd argue probably the first or second hardest schedule to start off this season. But during those games, they were very banged up. They were injured. They just signed a guy that had 4 years in the NFL. Last week, he played his first week with the team. He got some reps in, but I'm sure he'll be more accustomed with the team and gain that chemistry with the coaching staff and the quarterback. Their offensive line has gotten a lot better. And I feel like they finally have created a better offense for Jake Mayer, who I think that they were trying to build the offense around the former quarterback they had, which I'm a huge fan of. Every quarterback needs his own offense. Don't try and give this quarterback that guy's offense. He needs his
Right.
own offense. And as far as Saskatchewan's concerned, they're a team, guys, that last year and the past few years, they've been a club where they could rely solely on their defense. They would win the most boring games possible. And this year, I've noticed their defense is kind of falling off a little bit. They're taking a lot of sacks. And last week, if it wasn't for a late touchdown in the fourth quarter, they would have had pretty much just 3 points in the entire contest. They did end up squeaking out a win. But I look at this as a bet on spot. It's kind of a revenge game, some might call it, playing the same team 2 weeks later. And Calgary had the lead, blew it in double overtime. But I'm looking at the first half plus a half at minus 110. If the game is tied at halftime, we win this wager. I like Calgary, but I'll tell you what, Andy, right now, I do not like them for a full game. I can't trust them. I want to see it before I can believe it. So I will stick with the first half with the Calgary Stampeders against the Saskatchewan Roughriders in the Western Conference.
Awesome stuff. Andrew McInnis, everyone. Andy, look, obviously this is a sports betting show, but we have fun along the way. We talked about, and Andrew, I mentioned, I think the Stampeders is the greatest name in all of sports. It reflects the city. It's an onomatopoeia. It is a moving forward kind of a notion. What the hell is a red black?
I'm not the one to ask. You know what my hot take is?
If Halifax gets a
CFL
CFL team, what?
I don't like
I don't
animal
like
names.
I don't like animal names for teams. It's not creative. It's just lazy. That's how I look. I don't know. That's my hot take as far as team names are concerned.
Stampeders is not an animal name. There's no animal in the whole world. I really like this.
I know.
What
I wasn't talking about
I got a
that.
Stampeder.
I got you, Andy.
Yeah, so the Halifax team is going to be called the Schooners, which is actually
it's
an appropriate name.
The Yellow Blues.
Okay.
Yellow Blues. Purple Reds. Green Oranges. What the hell is a red black? Who came up with the freaking red black? I mean,
well, even worse, before I was even on this earth, I'm pretty sure there were two teams in the same league that consisted of 9 teams that had the same name. Hey, did you know that? The Rough Riders used to be named the Red Blacks as well.
Yeah. Do you know why? Do you know why there were 2 teams named the Rough Riders? Because nobody wanted the Red Blacks.
Yeah.
I mean, they literally changed their name from the Rough Riders to the Red Blacks. Anyway.
Did you guys see that? I saw on Twitter that there was like some negotiations going around because you know how everybody has the blue check these days, so it's still confusing to find out who is who.
Checks.
Some guy made it, blue check. Some guy made his Twitter handle Washington Redskins, and so the Washington Commanders Twitter DM'd him, and he was like negotiating, like pretty much like, what's it going to take for you to change your name? Because the guy was like tweeting out like so-and-so has been removed from the roster or like this guy is injured, and people were falling for it. And so he was like, well, I don't know, like what's it going to take for me to change it? I respect the guy for negotiating.
Yeah, I don't. I think there has to be a sportsmanship. I don't know, whatever. You know what? Honestly, screw the Commanders. I'm with you, dude. And you know what he should do next? He should go after the Red Blacks. Okay. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That name makes sense. It was a hot spot for Pirates way back when. They're playing the Vikings, which strangely makes sense as well because the Vikings did populate Minnesota. Okay. This game is a million weeks from now. How do we bet it? No follow-up, Andy, because we're done.
It is a million weeks from now, so I'll just keep it short and simple. This is a Vikings team that is pegged to have success once again this season, and the Buccaneers, well, the odds makers think they're going to have the opposite of success. In fact, everybody I've heard thinks they're going to be trash and won't win one single game. The good news is this is not a money line wager. This is a point spread wager, and looking at this Vikings team, they win a lot of close games, but they don't cover a lot of close games. You know, you take a look at their schedule. They had 13 wins last season, only 5 of them did they cover a point spread like this. This is, to me, a team that has a defense that will not be improved on from one year to the next. They give up the 5th most points per game, 2nd most yards per play per game. And you take a look at the weapons that are still there available for this Buccaneers team. Chris Godwin, Rashad White, Mike Evans, there's still guys that are available. There's the whole Dalvin Cook situation over there. And I know, as you guys see on the screen, there's a new quarterback behind center. And I know Andy's probably wondering why I'm talking about Baker Mayfield, since I ripped on him every single Friday on our Prop It Up show last year. But are we going to sit here and think that Tom Brady was really an all-star legend like everyone's pegging him that he was last year? I think we all know he was not the same Tom Brady as he's been throughout his career. He probably shouldn't have come out of retirement. I think Baker will bring a simplified offense. He won't really complicate things too much. And I think that the offensive line will be improved. It's pretty young. And with time, this Bucs team, I think, might not win a lot of games, guys, but I actually have them circled to cover a decent amount of point spreads. I love seeing all kinds of people crap all over a team in the offseason because I look to bet on them when I'm getting points like 6.5. You know, Vikings 11-0 in close games, some are saying last year. They didn't cover a lot of point spreads. They won games. Let me take Tampa Bay here, plus 6.5.
Andrew, look, I love this pick. It makes a lot of sense. The only thing that's going to keep me off of this play is Tampa Bay is the worst coach in football. It's just horrifically bad coach. I mean, maybe Mike McCarthy, one of those two. What do you got to promote?
Yeah, I've got a CFL play tonight. It's $15. Of course, the 3% plays are just $15. Looking forward to a huge weekend in the UFC. It's kind of an under-the-radar card after a big one last week. And MLB coming back here. I'm on a really good run with team total. So I've really been taking the other team just out of the picture, focusing on one team that's hitting the ball very well and rocking with these team totals, guys. So I appreciate you having me on and looking forward to next few weeks here with sports back in action.
Love you, brother. Awesome stuff. Andrew McInnis, everybody. Andy Lang, what a fun show. Tomorrow it's you and Steve Merrill, and I'll be back next week. Andy, take us home.
All plays can be found at WagerTalk.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I will be back tomorrow with Steve Merrill. Thanks for joining in. We will see everyone tomorrow. Good luck on your bets tonight.